Hey everyone, it's Sally Estlin here on Magic Mike Moments. How are we doing today? I'm super duper excited to sit down with Jenny McFadden. How are you, Jen?
Awesome. Thanks, Sal.
Thank you so much for joining us. So before we get into it, let's just give a little bit of a history about who you are and what you do. So you are a coach, a thought leader, and visionary in creative intuition, consciousness, and discovering your soul purpose. You're also a 3 times #1 best-selling author and a transformation coach. You've empowered thousands of conscious women to deepen their trust in their intuition so that they can make important life decisions with unwavering confidence. So you teach fun and creative ways to talk to your intuition so you can discover you know more than you think you do. And that's just being very humble about who you are and what you do. But welcome,
Oh,
Jenny.
thanks.
This is
Thank
why I've
you.
got you here to dig a little bit deeper into who Jenny McFadden really is and a bit of your journey. So we met, was it in Hawaii maybe, or was it in Fiji? Somewhere along the line, I think both of those places. So about 7 years ago. And I've always just been very drawn to you because of your calm nature. You're very wise, very connected, and very intuitive. And I'm just drawn to
Oh,
that
thanks.
energy. So that's why I thought I'd bring you on today and dig a little bit deeper into who you are and a bit of your story. So, do you want to kickstart with sharing a little bit about your journey and some of the challenges you've had along the way to where you are today?
Thanks, Sal. I never thought I would be doing what I'm doing today. So I
Mm.
call myself a transformation coach. I work with intuition, consciousness, like really teaching and making that practical for everybody in their lives. I never thought that this is what I would be doing because really I started my life as a logic skeptic. And I was not interested in anything to do with this kind of stuff. I really came to this through not through choice in a way. It was like many people, you come through your own adversity, through challenges that you come to learn things about yourself or about how the nature of reality, how things really work. I find myself in a place never having thought, for example, that I would call myself a medical intuitive at one point. So probably 10 years ago, that's what I used to do is medical intuition. And I was like, I had I had heard about things like that, and I never thought that was going to be me. And yet it was. But, through the years, there are things that happened that I can look back now and see. I came to where I am because this is part of my purpose. It's part of my journey is to understand who I really am,
Mm.
be the skeptic, ask the questions, go through experiences that are tough and go, oh, I get it. I see now. So, in my 20s, I had an experience of thinking I was going to die.
Really?
I was overseas. I had an accident. I was dizzy. I couldn't stand up. I was in the south of Italy. Don't even ask about what medical services were like in the 80s. I went to the hospital and they were smoking I was like, yeah, it's pretty like that because you're a good idea. But, through that, my marriage split up. I took a different direction, these things,
Mm.
partly because I didn't listen to what my knowing was
Mm.
trying to tell me when
Yeah.
I said yes to getting married. And I kind of knew, but I didn't know about this stuff then. It's like you have a sense, but you go, oh, no, it's nothing. Your brain
Yep.
overrides it, your logic.
Yep.
So, that happened. Then my whole life changed, all those sort of things. And can look back now and see these turning points.
Yeah.
Another one was, I eventually was working with a lot of women in the 90s when my mum and I wrote a book, which was a bestseller in Australia. And it was actually about weight management, eating management, because that's the trouble I'd always had.
Mm.
And so, but it was a psychology based, it was called Diet No More. But it was kind of ahead of its time then. But what it basically led me to do was to go within and listen to my body signals,
Mm.
listen to what's going on in my body. And that was a training I didn't realize I was having that was actually about intuitive eating. We didn't call it that then.
Mm.
We didn't have that term, but it was what I was teaching as well as understanding all the emotional and other things that contribute to what looks like a physical problem.
Mm.
And so that was another, and that's why I was having this training along the way that was really successful for me. Then I had a son and he had eczema. And I was like, how do you took him to the doctor, back and forth, back and forth. And I'd heard about kinesiology. And I think it was like, I don't know how many times I'd been back. And he was only a little, 2 maybe. And he'd had this eczema that they couldn't get rid of. Try everything, go back and forth. Anyway, I thought, if I go back one more time and they tell me They going to give me another cream. I'm going to see a kinesiologist. I don't know. Anyway, I went. They couldn't help. I went to the kinesiologist. She told me through, testing through
Yeah.
me to him
Yep.
that he had a problem with gluten, wheat. Took him off it. Literally 2 days later, he was a different kid. That bags under his eyes. He had energy, and I was like, I have to know how to do this.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm saying is, one thing leads to another, which leads to the curiosity about things. But I came to be here doing what I'm doing now because bit by bit, there's a part of me that's leading me to be doing the things that were on track for my purpose here.
Yeah. Yeah.
Being able to be who I am meant to be here. And we all have that within us. And now that's what I do, is help other women when you have a crisis to be able to see whatever that thing that's going on, whether it's physical, you've got physical symptoms of something, you've got some other stuff going on, relationships, job, career, whatever it is, these are messages. And we've got to listen. And that's what I help women do now. That's a long story short.
Yeah, so you're a bit of a detective. You're decoding or deciphering the messages that's coming from the body in particular. I just love that because, that was, you're ahead of the time back then. Probably was it in the 90s with your son?
Yes, that's what the marketing people told us. Look, you're ahead of your time.
Yeah.
You're trying to educate on something that people don't understand yet. They're still doing Weight Watchers and Jenny Craig. Right, so you're ahead of your time. So it was tricky, but I met so many wonderful people, and it was a really important part of my journey. And I think we know more about that now too.
Yeah, and similar sort of thing happened with my son, and he was about 2 and had sort of weird behavioural stuff, and it was all organic diet and everything, and I was already doing gluten-free, but it was the salicylates in
yes.
certain foods, and he
was
off the ceiling. And I'm going, but he's having, organic fruit and veggies and whatever. But it was, you had to become a detective.
And how did you find out that was the problem?
Went to a naturopath and we did some hair analysis, I think, and and once again, some muscle testing as well, and just going through allergy testing and things. But, that really opened my eyes, and we've just gone, right, and isn't it funny how our kids help us have these journeys? I mean, the universe works in such magical, mystical ways, right? It gives us these learnings, these challenges or experiences as learnings to help us on our purpose and mission in life.
Absolutely. And so now I'm at the point where, I really understand that there's no separation between us, between you and me, oops, my books are falling over. Oops, just ignore that. That's a sign. There's a lot of learning falling off the table there. Like that now, because I understand that inside's outside, outside's inside, that the reflection, my son was showing me something that I was needing to pick up on him so that it would take me in a certain direction. And even now I take it to the extent that when I have maybe someone in my life or something going on that isn't what I expected, or they're behaving a certain way that I expect, or I feel upset, now I go, stop. And I realize that I'm trying to tell myself something, like this is science, not just making stuff up. This is the science of understanding that everything's particle and every particle is connected to every other particle. And so when a particle is behaving in a certain way, that also is within me. And that's my job now, is to understand and go my wisdom and say, well, what is that about within me? Because when I change this, that changes.
Yeah.
And that's a profound and something I never thought I would ever think was real. And I know it for sure.
It's all an inside job, right? And once you have that light bulb, that reflection back, right? It's just like, when you're pointing the finger, you've got 3 fingers pointing back at you. Right?
That's quite right. Quite right.
And it's like, hang on, no. And turn it back into here. And I think, when you actually have that land, you go, it's like, cracking, cracking the code for life. And the answers lie within you. And it is becoming that detective or investigator and decoding what the body is trying to tell us, because it's just a messenger vessel, really, isn't it? So
absolutely. So when I see people who are having physical challenges, or when I have them myself, what I'm asking is, these symptoms, what are the messages? Because that's
Mm-hmm.
what they are, is messages
Yep.
from our body, especially ones that, like, the physical is the last way in which we
Yep.
experience something that other stuff is going on. So we've got the emotional, the spiritual, mental, whatever. All of that's contributing. You can't separate them out. So
No.
it's like when we see something physical, it's usually a message like that I have, if I apply it to myself, something that I haven't really taken enough notice of,
Yep.
because usually you get other stuff beforehand.
Yes. You get the tap on the shoulders.
Yeah, and we don't. Yeah, we do get it, but we sort of don't necessarily. I don't necessarily always pay attention or notice it to start with,
Mm.
and so I'm a lot more aware of that now. But having said that, even though I've had my challenge recently with my knee going, but that was after a long period of supporting a lot of my family.
Yeah, right.
So, but it's I get it. I
Mm.
get it. And that's what I help other women to do now, which is to understand and be able to figure out themselves. Because if you've got something physical going on, often the first thing people do is Google it, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And then you've got this massive amount of information, or you've got other people's information, or you've got medical information. There's all kind of information. And
Yeah.
what you're doing is trying to go, what do I pay attention to? Where do I start with this? And often, especially if it's something difficult, you can be in fear about it.
Mm.
And, especially if it's something the medical system says you need to have that fixed, right?
Yeah.
And they rush you off to do something before, and you're in a lot of fear about it, and often you'll agree to things later you might not have. And so I'm not saying, like, for me, it doesn't matter if it's medical, natural, whatever. To me, it's all part of the options.
Mm-hmm.
And what I do is help women go within so that they can be connected to the part of them that really knows what's going on and what they need, and be able to be confident in making those decisions that they know that's my next step and that's my next step. And it's not the same as anybody else's steps. For example, I saw Elle McPherson this week talking
Me
on
too.
media, right, about her
Yeah.
breast cancer, right?
Yep.
And so she had medical intervention first, having the cancer removed. And then I heard her say, and I was watching, you probably saw her, she was saying, when they were saying, well, now it's time for chemotherapy and radiation, she said, there was a part of me inside that was saying, this is a different way I need to go.
Mm.
And so she went the natural, whatever she undertook, and now she's in remission.
Mm.
Awesome, because her beliefs in natural medicine are very strong. And so that's the right way for her. It's not always, I think that's the thing, is it's not the right way for everyone. There's a right way for you. And your body and your wisdom knows that, not anybody else.
Yeah, it's everybody's an individual. You've got to listen to your body and work with your body. It's because teamwork makes the dream work. And I've been talking about that all week because she listened to her body. And it was also interesting because they said, oh, look, you've got 20% chance of it coming back. And she said, but I got to the root cause. I got to the underlying emotions that was sort of causing this physical manifestation. So and as you said, when it gets to the physical stage, that's when the body starts yelling at you, hey, wake up and listen. Listen. We've had all these little clues along the way, and often, I'm the same. We're human people, right? And we tuck it under the carpet. I'll deal with that later. Oh, it's not really that bad. And then all of a sudden, it manifests into something a lot more serious, and it causes us to stop and listen. And the secret language of your body, it's incredible, right? It's just talking to us. It's the soul sending us messages, the mind sending us messages, everything. And the body is amazing because it has this innate ability to heal itself as well. So working with it, actually, one of the books I was in, The Inside Effects, and I was a contributing author, and that's about how the body has this innate ability to heal itself. Once you get the message, you dig deeper and uncover it. Do you want to share with us about your books, by the way? You've written 3. Number 1.
I have. I've got my latest one here, which is all about what we're talking about. So it's talking about, that's the game of intuition and how to play it.
Mm-hmm.
And so my approach has become one of curiosity and play.
I love it.
The thing that I have seen most over the years is when we want to tune into our intuition, when we want to have that just conversation, the best place to start is from a place of curiosity or play, because otherwise your head gets in the way. You don't trust what you're getting, and maybe what you're getting isn't actually coming from. It's coming from fear. It's coming from the head. And so what I've done over the years, having been through, many iterations myself of being an intuitive practitioner of different kinds, is to understand that it's very easy to connect in when you do it through curiosity. Like even if you just say, I wonder, right? It completely changes your energy. As soon as you go, I wonder, your energy opens up and expands. Instead of like, I've got to get this right. What's the message? Especially if you're focused on it's something really difficult or something you're worried about, it can be quite hard to trust what you get. I understand that. And so that's my job. So the game of intuition is about how it looks at science, it looks at psychology, it looks at how, intuitive processes, it looks at creativity and how they're all part of the one and how they all connect with each other. Because I really like the fact that intuition is not, like to me, it's a consciousness thing. However, science can explain that too.
That's what I find that
fascinating. I don't know, but I do. And what I've done is over the years I've worked with a friend of mine. Her name is Judy Moss, and she's a integrative doctor. So a bit like the relationship between Carolyn Mace and I forget his name. I forget his name. Anyway, we've had a relationship over the years where we play together for ourselves. We make games. We look at a principle that might come from science. And, for example, all particles are connected and what's inside is outside. And we go, how do we make that like fun so that anybody can get that information for themselves and understand what's outside is inside. And so we made a game called Mirror Mirror, where you basically, for fun, go, what's something that's broken down around me recently and what's that about? Another one is we take the radio as an example and we go, like my granddad used to have a wireless, right?
Yeah.
And the radio is a big thing. And I've heard you use this analogy too, so which is that often we're tuned into a station. Which station are we tuned into? And so let's make that into a game so that you can actually ask your intuition, what station do I need to be tuned into? What would be the highest? What would really give me a lift? Or what would it be called today? Right? And so rather than go, I'm just going to tune, you actually ask what would be the frequency just for fun? What's the name of the radio station?
Yeah.
So you might ask, what station am I on right now? It might be radio, I don't trust myself. Right?
Yeah. Yes.
So if I ask my intuition, what would be the radio station I'd be tuning in today? Would be radio. I'm at my highest consciousness. I'm experiencing joy. 101 FM, right? Whatever it is, it's just for fun, right? And then you ask your intuition, what's one way that I can be that frequency today?
Yeah.
And it will tell you. And that's all you've got to do. For example, if I were to ask that, it's like, give yourself a smile, right? It's as simple as, right?
Love it, yeah.
I mean, smile with your whole body every hour, once an hour today.
Yeah.
All right? I don't know. What I'm saying is it makes it fun, but actually it works.
What I'm loving is that you're packaging up such technical explanations and applying it in a really fun, practical way. It's just, and that's a skill, Jen. That's an absolute skill to take it and channel it down into just something very basic and simple that people get, and it's relatable. And I think that's what I really like about you is you do practical and relatable things, because we live in understanding this, let's not call it woo-woo, but the spiritual consciousness, all that sort of world, and applying that in a practical way so people can relate to it, so that they can take the simple small steps of increasing their awareness and consciousness of what's going on. That is a skill, and to actually package that all up in a fun way, like that is the number one thing missing out of everyone's day is fun.
Totally agree. And not only that, fun is as important as any of the other needs. So being loving, being strong, being playful is equally as powerful and important in our lives. And without it, like we know, it's not a very happy life. Like we need all these things to be able to be playful, be loving, be free, be powerful.
And what just landed then, because fun takes you out of the it's unpredictable. Whereas it out of the predictable day of the autopilot and just doing the fun is like variety. Right? It mixes it up because it makes you laugh. It just takes you off grid, or changes your frequency like that just so
I
quick.
completely agree. I
Yeah, yeah,
completely agree. And I think that's why for me things need to be grounded and practical, even though I might understand, and like
yes,
consciousness is everything.
yeah.
Consciousness
Oh,
is who we are. It's everything. It's more important than anything. It's love. It's what it, like I'm not telling you something, but for me, for a lot of people to talk in those terms, it's still not in a way that we can make it relatable and
yep,
practical and grounded in the
yep,
reality in which we live now, in
yep,
this physical world.
yep,
That's my aim, is to bring some of the, to bring these concepts and ideas, but bring them to ground,
yep.
bring them to the earth, bring them to where we can have a play with it and find out you do know more than you think you do,
Mm,
much more. And I think that's the fun thing. And the thing what I've learned over the years, and why I stopped doing some of the other work I used to do, like medical intuition, like if someone was going to come and see me for coaching, I would tune into their body before they came. I would
mm,
look at what's going on with their permission. I would look at what's going on, what's their body saying, particularly emotionally, because you can
yep,
see the physical,
yep,
right? What you can't see is the emotional, spiritual, the mental.
yep.
And I would do that, and it was sometimes a bit surprising to the person, because it seems like, oh, it's clairvoyance and all that stuff. Everyone can do this.
Yeah.
Everyone can do it. But what I realized is I'm disempowering someone. Although I'm helping, what I want people to be able to do it for themselves.
Oh, yeah.
I want everyone else to know this is not limited to someone like me who's been playing around doing, practicing, learning, whatever. It's something everybody can do, and it's what is natural and inbuilt,
Mm,
and it's normal, and we're supposed to be in touch with it.
mm,
We're supposed to be living from it. That's
yeah,
why we have even a soul. It's why we are
yeah,
connected to much more than we know we are. It's there and it's available. It's like, Googling the universe.
yeah. And I think when you see like young babies and young kids, you can see that childlike wonder and that intuitiveness. And so it's just that's living examples of people, we do have it and we're born with it, and it just sort of gets knocked around with the conditioning and just life that gets in the way. I think
Yeah.
look, I just love what you're doing, because you are cracking the code for people to make it, allowing it very much more accessible with the understanding and then applying it themselves. Like, I just do little things myself, like, the body pendulum, and try to teach people
Yeah.
that it's like basic stuff so that you can get in tune within yourself in a fun way, right? And it's like simple things. And I think for me, this is why I did like the clothing and stuff, trying to find practical and relatable ways to work with energy, that
Yep.
that is understanding, and color. We both love color, and
I
how
do.
powerful is color, right? It's
Yep.
just it's amazing.
Absolutely. It
It's
changes it can change how you feel.
absolutely,
It's
every day
frequency.
you open your wardrobe and you're drawn to a color to put
It's
on,
frequency.
unless
Yeah.
unless you live in Melbourne and it's all black, but then that's still a frequency. Black and grey, but it's that. And yeah, really, really interesting. So leading on from that, what do you think is your actual superpower? Why do you think people are drawn to you specifically? What's your essence?
I think we've already covered it, which is practical intuition.
Yeah, 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 me too.
I think bottom line is that's what I do in a simplified form, like,
Yeah, yeah,
is make it earthly, make it grounded, make it relevant,
yeah,
and teach other people how to do it. And I combine it with my background in psychology. I combine it with my background because that's where I've done a lot of training, and I used to teach psychology-based programs at university. I've taught,
you.
it's what, yeah, I've taught, so I have a lot of background in asking people questions, how to ask questions that are effective.
Right,
So
right.
I'm working at the mental level, I'm working at the intuitive level, I work at every level, because to
Yeah,
me, that's who we are.
yeah.
The brain is still really useful, right? So it's, the way we think, the way we perceive things is really powerful. But at the bottom, the thing that I really want people to get, women to get, is that they can go to the next level with their intuitive capacity and make it practical and useful in their lives in a way so they can make better decisions and know that that's the way to go. Trust themselves. That's the big one is
Yep.
So I just don't trust what I'm getting, and I understand that.
Yeah.
But when you learn to set yourself up the right way to start with, or in a way that's easy, in other words, to get your energy and your to get yourself out of the way and be more at a consciousness level so that you can receive information, you'd be surprised what you get. And sometimes it's humorous and funny, and like it's just you just go, can surprise yourself with what you know. and that's why I do, bottom line. So how to make decisions, how to feel in control in your life and understand that you have a purpose here.
Yeah, I love
and
it.
it's not what you think. It's not a job. It's not what you think it is. And it's about who you're being when you're here.
Yes.
And that's the bottom line. And they're the things that I ask questions around. And so people often say to me, you ask really good questions. It's because I don't tell people what to do. I ask them questions because everyone knows inside. And when you go to your values and you look at who you want to be in the world, you discover everything that you need to know. Yeah. And when you do that, physical things start to calm down. Things start to show up outside that reflect inside in the way that you want them to.
Yeah.
And you go, whoa, that was interesting. Unexpected things. So I love that. And I think I feel really blessed and excited to be doing this kind of work. I love it.
Oh, look, you just resonate awesomeness. And, it always, the quality of the answer is linked to the quality of the question. So
quite right.
You are asking the right questions to get to the right answers, right? To really uncover. And it was interesting you were saying, like, we do need the head because it's there to protect us and it's logical and stuff. But it's like we need fear and stress in our lives, but not too much of that. It's like we don't want a heavy weight with the over the thinking of the head and, too much fear and too much stress. But, not bypassing, but going through that to get to what's further underneath, peeling the layers. So,
Yeah, I think that's the idea is that it's the kind of questions are really important.
Yeah.
Is to be able to ask someone, well, who do you really want to be in this situation? Rather than trying to fix what's outside. Yeah. Because what we do, typically what happens for most of us is when something goes wrong or people are not doing what we want, is we look outside and we go, how am I going to fix this? Well, how can I tell this person, they need to be doing this and tell them I'm not happy and they need to change, right? And that's the most logical thing to do first, right? In this environment in which it looks like the outside is separate from the inside, like I'm separate from you. Or we try to fix the situation, right? And there's nothing wrong with that, except it's not very successful a lot of the time.
Yeah.
So we try that and then we discover that actually where the power really is in discovering that I can be who I want to be regardless of what's happening on the outside.
Oh,
that is the most powerful place you can be.
Yeah.
So they're the kind of questions that I ask to help someone find the energy around that and to discover that everything they need to know is on the inside. And when that happens, it's like this whole I see it happen. It's like this reorganization suddenly takes place in their faith. And I can see it happening. I don't know what's happening, but I can see this complete reorganization going on. And when that happens, your perception of yourself and the world completely changes. Yep. And then what's outside doesn't, even though it's still the same, it's still occurring at this point, it doesn't affect you.
Within. Yeah.
It doesn't affect you because you've got a whole different perception of what's going on. And so that's my aim at a sort of mental level, is to work with that, but also to go with the emotional and to understand, for example, that pain on the outside is pain on the inside.
Yeah.
We're getting pain, we're getting things like, I give myself an example. So recently like my mum and dad they moved into care about 5 years ago, but I was caring for them. At the time we met, I had already been helping to care for them for a couple of years. And so I was already exhausted. Then they needed to move, so that we had to renovate their house. move them from 60 years of being in a place. Emotionally, and physically, my dad was like, it was just really, you love them and you want to help, and so I do, but in the end, it's sort of at my own expense. And so I actually stopped my business for a while. I closed it for about 5 years, except for a few groups that I was running that I kept going. And last year, so it's been about 5 years since I've been in care, I restarted my business, and my mum needed a shoulder replacement because she was in so much pain. She had the shoulder replacement. She went back to care. She fell and broke her arm, the same arm. Went back into hospital. She was in hospital for about 3 months, and then my dad was in another hospital at the same time.
Whoa.
And so, and they don't know he didn't know where he was. He didn't know that hospital would be ringing up saying, "Can you come in?" He can't look up. We can't manage him. He doesn't know where he is. He's blah, 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 blah. Yeah. Anyway, at the end of that time, this is the part where you just go, yeah. On the last day, my mum finally came home from hospital. My sister and I were there. And as we walked out, leaving her, my knee hyperextended backwards. And it happened a couple of small times before, and I didn't do anything, right? It sort of fixed itself, and I went, oh, it's all right.
Yeah.
Right, there's the message was there. It hyperextended backwards, and I couldn't walk at all. At all. I thought, okay, so now I cannot look after them. I cannot visit. I can't walk at all. And so I realized, I got the message. It's like, you're overextended, right? You have to stop. You have to stop doing what you're doing. You have to put yourself first. My body was saying, that's it. And so I said to my brothers, look, I can't be mum and dad's main carer now for a while. You'll need to step up because I just can't do it. And here's the thing. So, and in that 12 months, my knees vastly improved, right? So even if something terrible happens and they tell you, oh, no, you're going to need an operation, you're going to need no, it's vastly improved, right? Like, you can do it. Like, once I get the message and you hear what needs to be heard and you respond to it, the body has an opportunity to change. Yes, there are other things I did, but that's the basis of it. And I think what I was going to say. So, here's the kicker. The kicker is, like, my mum and dad have been in and out of hospital for 5, 6, 7 years.
Yeah.
That happened last August. Neither of them has been in hospital since then. Only my dad for 2 days at Christmas, and I had COVID and I couldn't go. Right. I got the message outside.
Yeah.
Also stopped.
It's amazing.
Yeah. It's like, even I still go, okay.
Yeah, powerful.
I get it. All right. If I need proof that when I change, outside changes, that is like massive for me. And it's meant that I've been able to resume my business, keep going, do more stuff. So that's been my own experience in the last 12 months.
That is a massive goosebump moment for me. It's because everyone can relate to that, when particularly as empaths, we give, people pleaser, doormats, whatever. And it's your family, and there's always reasons why I know I've got to do it because it's your mum and dad, right? But then, right. You're not the only child, and it's just, and then push came to shove, and to the point you were pushed to the brink of, like, I literally can't take another step.
That's right.
Thing.
That's right.
And then everything settles down. Look, I love the universe. I do, absolutely do. But it's just, they must sit up there laughing, Friday night drinks together, having a bit of a giggle. Did you see what happened to Jen last week? Finally, her knee went,
she finally got it. Oh, look, here I am, and I say to myself, forever the student. Like, I might be teaching it, but I'm still learning. Like, I'm still getting it. I'm still going, okay. But I think it really illustrates something that's really important, and that is when we experience a situation where our values are, when we can't find a way to rise above the value. Like, here's what I mean. So one of my top values is connection and caring, right? Like, family. Now, in a situation where my mum and dad needed support, and I'm the closest person, I'm the live closest, and I'm also the oldest. Not that matters, but I'm the closest person, and they are consistently needing support in hospital, needing support, like not well, and it goes on and on. There's this conflict because who I want to be is someone who's loving.
Mm.
The thing is, I need to be loving to myself too.
Mm-hmm.
So how do I choose between I'm being loving for them and I'm being loving for me?
Yeah.
And I've got someone who really needs my help all the time.
Mm.
How do I say, no, I can't, I'm not coming. No, I can't do it. And not my knees, a really good example. My knees are both, but one particular is a good example of I couldn't find a resolution. These are values at the highest level,
Yeah.
conflicting, right? And even if I said, well, who do I want? Normally I would say, well, who do I want to be in this? And it would help me. This, it really didn't. So sometimes there are situations where it's really very difficult. And that for me has been an extremely difficult one. But in the end, honestly, it was finally you have to put yourself first or else you
You
can't.
know, it's interesting because we do a lot of coaching, right? Both you and I, and we it's very easy to talk about the things to do. Like, for example, this is a pure example of the oxygen mask, right? And it's
Yeah,
very much about put the oxygen mask on yourself first.
yeah,
And yes, we talk about it and do stuff, but this is a pure close to home example of you having to put the oxygen mask on yourself first
yeah,
because no
yeah.
good to anybody else if you're not looking after yourself. And look at how the external environment responded to that. There was no many issues. So it's,
Well,
hmm,
I think there's probably more to it as well,
yeah,
which is looking at my sense of responsibility, and there's a whole lot of other things that are probably in this story too that I had to figure out where's my place in this and who am I being. And I had help. It's my brother and sister around. It's not like I was on my own. They were doing stuff too. But something within me, I was learning about, choosing about who I was going to be in this situation that's been different.
yeah,
I've had to redefine myself and who I'm being. So now I'll give you a good example, and this has really helped, is when I would get a call from where mum and dad are living, right? It comes up on my phone. And as soon as I would see it, because I'm the main person they call,
yeah,
as soon as I see it, I would get that sinking feeling. Because in the past, it's always been, we've got a problem with this, there's a problem with that, we don't know what to do here, this is a problem,
yeah,
they need to go to hospital, they've had a fall, blah, 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 whatever it is.
yeah,
And after this happened, I went, you know what? I need to change my whole perception of all of this
mm,
because it's not helping me to have this down feeling each time.
yeah, yeah,
And so I asked my intuition. I asked my inner knowing, how do I do that?
mm,
And the inner knowing was like, when you see you need to change your, like when it comes up, tells you what's on, you need to
yeah,
change it to love your mum and dad.
yeah,
That's
yeah,
all,
yeah,
right? That's
yeah,
who it's
yeah,
from. Love your mum and dad.
yeah.
I thought, really?
Little tweaks, right?
I
Yeah,
thought, really? So I put it in. You cannot believe the difference it makes. And so now, and my intuition told me, my wisdom told me, whenever you think of your mum and dad, not just the phone, but whenever you think of them, because normally after 5, 6, 7 years, you're going, oh, what else do they need? Have they got this? Like what?
yeah,
It's just, there's the finances, there's the this, there's all the different. Now, whenever I think of them, I think, love your mum and dad. And I am willing to bet you, like, I feel completely different when I think that. And it stops my mental thing from going blah, blah,
yeah,
blah, blah,
yeah,
whatever. And I feel it and I go, yeah. Now, I reckon that has got also, this is a really simple thing that my wisdom knew how to do.
yeah.
And I thought, that's not going to work. Absolutely works fantastic. And I reckon that's also contributing to.
It's a circuit breaker, right? And it's just like everything is
It's
energy.
it's
It's
a circuit breaker, and I'm putting out the thing that I want to get back, which is, like I'm just reminding myself I'm love here. That's all. And I stopped doing it, and then my outside world goes, right, well, there's nothing to fix no more.
Oh,
There's nothing to fix. They're going, okay, excuse me.
yeah, yeah, yeah. It's like,
It's
yeah,
I'm saying with my own experience, I know how this stuff works. Like I really believe in it. And I
yeah.
just know you can think, oh, that's just not going to work, is it? Surely, but your wisdom knows.
Oh, look, you're just taking coaching to a whole new level of deepness and practical and relatable things.
Oh, thanks.
I mean, for example, that is a circuit breaker on the deepest level to
Yeah,
do with yourself, your self-love and your self-worth, right? And that is the core of everybody's biggest hurdles in life is to tap into that unconditional self-love and self-worth. And
yeah.
that's, yeah, and like that's,
Who knew it can be so easy?
yeah.
If I tried to figure that out, if I
Get
did,
out of
I
your
did
head.
try to figure out how do I fix this? What do I do? I know I need to look after myself, but I don't know how. People would say, "Oh, make sure you look after yourself." And I go, "Yeah, um, but it, I couldn't, I couldn't logically work it out. I couldn't figure out. Like, I know I need to look after myself. I know I need to put myself first. So, like, I know that,
Yeah.
but how do I do that?
Yeah.
And took me a while.
Yeah, but this is where I mean you're cracking the code because you're actually getting there and in simple solutions. I mean it's a hard journey to get to the simple outcome, but just changing to love your mum and dad, like
I know.
whoa.
Who
But
thought?
the journey to get to those simple few words, love you, mum, and 5 words, right?
Yeah.
Whoa, 5 words that have changed your life in many ways.
And I think, and I know that, you talk about, frequency of words.
Mhm.
It tunes me back to my heart. So it helps me feel better, but it's also, I'm creating my reality.
Mm.
And not
Mm.
only that, if every particle is connected, I'm sending them love
Yeah.
every time I think it. So no wonder I'm helping them also because we're not separate.
Mm. It's
I
the one.
wonder why they're having
Yeah.
a better time, why they're managing and coping better, right?
Yeah.
And I'm not saying in an ego way, oh, I'm doing that. I'm just saying I recognize we're all connected. And what I do is the particle here vibrating is vibrating over there too.
Yeah.
And I
And
was listening, sorry.
no, go on. Yeah, yeah.
I was listening to someone today talking about, it was actually Eben Alexander, the guy who wrote Proof of Heaven.
Right.
He's a neurosurgeon who had E. coli on the brain, was in a
Mm-hmm.
coma for a week, and had a completely different kind of near-death experience. Had never ever, didn't ever believe, even though he heard his patients talk about, their experience with near-death or, other people coming to visit them, that kind of thing. He just thought, it's just, stuff people. He never gave it any credence. And then he had his own experience. And I don't know why I'm saying this now.
No, no,
Anyway,
no. Yeah.
um, I forgot. I forgot. I
No,
forgot
that's
what I
all
was.
right.
Forgot what I was going to say. Anyway, fantastic. Like it amazed me, like that a guy like him now is saying, if only I could help people understand that the truth is everything is consciousness. That is the mystery, and that over the last 400 years or so, we've become more of a science based
Yep.
culture world, and it's led us away from really understanding what perhaps many years ago people were understood better. We
Mm.
might call that spiritual, but to understand that we're connected to everything, and that's why we can even see a lot of these quotes from Descartes and other people who seem really prophetic. Now it's like that they understand there's a connection between the universe and the human. It's like they understood it, but we kind of lost it, and I think that's
Yeah.
where we're coming back to really understand a lot of that. And I talk about that like with my mum. It's like mum and dad. It's like that we are all connected. We just have this brain that helps us perceive ourselves separately.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Actually, we're finding our way back to understanding the truth, and that's what he was talking about, is the truth of who we really are.
Yep. I was just going to say, I mean, you spot on because I studied philosophy, for example, back in the 80s at uni, and it was Descartes and all the philosophers and whatever. But now we're applying it, but in an understanding, practical, relatable way. For example, this whole we're all one, we're oneness, the unity, the one consciousness, the one God love consciousness, whatever. It's like we're all individual instruments in an orchestra, right? And we're playing the same piece of music, but we're all just playing different instruments, but playing the same song, because it's universe, one verse, right? And it's we're all just the oneness. And I think that example with your family, with your parents, is exactly that. So you might have been in the strings section with them, and it's just you got one back on track, and then it started sounding better, rather than this cranky old violin going a bit funny. So yeah, and when we can get our head around this missing piece of the puzzle, it's again, look, I've had nothing but goosebumps talking to you today, because these are deep conversations. Yeah, because I think these are conversations that need to be had to make it more real and practical and relatable, and then say, how can I apply this to my life today? And everything, when you change your energy, you change your reality. So changing the energy of the words, the thoughts that you have around, you change the thought process around when you saw your mum and dad, because you changed it with what you saw, with the words that you read, and that energetically changed something within you, connected within you, and that's what was resonating out. This love light energy was just completely different frequency to before, because the old connection with the thought process, the phone's ringing, down energy.
Exactly.
And you did that circuit breaker. You retrain the neural pathways to think in a different way. You change your energy, then you change your reality, and then that's what's resonating out, and that's it. Everyone's reacting to. So
that's it.
We've done a very deep philosophical talk in a user-friendly, practical way, hopefully, that people can relate to.
I hope so too. I mean, that's what the more we talk about it, and the more we can make it relatable, as you say, the more I think, we come to understand ourselves, and maybe more people are willing to enter into the play around this and go, yeah, I'll have a play with that and just see what happens. I'll try it out and see what happens, because there's nothing to lose. But I think there's still too many barriers around. Some people, like, there's resistance, let's say.
Yeah, it's a good word.
Being what some perceive as a little bit woo-woo. I still call myself woo-woo. It's fine. But but more and more I understand. We just need to make it so that everyone can understand and learn these principles and teach them to their kids.
Yeah. Oh, yes.
Right. Teach the internal that they can change themselves, and through that change what's happening outside themselves. But the focus has got to be within.
Yeah.
And because there's just still too many people feeling disempowered by difficult circumstances, by difficult relationships, by things that happen, health-related things. And I want to be able to help people find their way back to the energy and to their connection with, a bit like finding the gold in the darkness, It's like, people will say, I found something so much more important through this experience.
Yeah. And it's interesting how you mentioned kids, because of kids born this side of the century are so much more sensitive, so much more in tune. And that's why there's so much issues with, spectrum, ADHD, whatever. It's just like square pegs, round hole, because they've actually understanding this internal GPS, right? They're igniting this light within, and the external environment hasn't caught up with them. And it's a bit like you with your son back in the 80s going, you're ahead of the times. And kids are now actually ahead of the times. They're very sensitive. And, I bang on about all the time, shifting from the old way to the new way. And as we're crossing this bridge, it's about taking ownership and responsibility and surrendering and just putting you first. And because once we've just your total example of like work on you first, and the rest will relate to that and fit in. And it's not being selfish. The old way of thinking was that selfish, and it's not. It's getting out of that headspace, because you're just connecting into that oneness and raising your frequency as you're looking after you, and then that's how it's all reacting. It's just you're just getting more in tune with your instrument in the orchestra. So
that's right. And I think what you're describing there, that's an example of the big picture, and what I think I'm doing and you're doing is I'm looking for how to do that.
Yep.
How? What's this? What? In your life exactly and specifically, how can you do that? How can you get in touch with that part of yourself? How can you get the messages? What are different ways you can play that game, and try it out for yourself? Because for me, that's where we can talk about it, but the doing of it is the key part.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm interested in, is digging into that part of it and finding out what's really going on. And because it cuts through so much more, like often, like when I would do kinesiology, for example, when I would do kinesiology, I would, use muscle testing to find out, what's the emotion around something, where does it come from, how old were you, how does that relate to the present, and then we'll clear the energy around it.
Yeah.
And I can still do that. If it comes up, I would. However, now I would be more likely to be asking a person's inner wisdom is, you don't really need to know everything about what happened and why. What we need to know is, where are you going and what do you need now? What's the next steps forward? If it comes up that someone needs something that helps clear some past thing, I'll do that. But I don't do it unless their wisdom says that's where I've got to go.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm more interested in, I'm creating my reality now. And I want to know, where am I going and how do I get there?
Yeah.
So it's the GPS example, right? The inner GPS. So I want to know, I'll ask my intuition, where am I now and where am I going? But I want to know, I'm playing the game. So I'll say, so where am I now? And my intuition will give, like, it's like a game. It's like a conversation. I'll say, where am I now? For example, if I would say that now, where am I now? And I might ask, what's the topic?
Yeah.
And the topic is, my neck needs an adjustment. My neck, right? I can feel it. I'm like, where am I now? I'm in Crooked City. Right?
Yeah.
Where am I going? Oh, that's what I mean. You never know what you're going to get. So I'm getting the lights of Vegas. I don't know why. Right? I don't know why.
For gambling.
No, because I actually love Vegas. I don't do any gambling. I just go to all the shows. It's fantastic.
Oh, yeah,
I know
shows.
it's the city, but I just go to shows.
Yeah, yeah.
Fantastic. I love that. Never go to casinos and things. That's not interesting, that, but I love it. So for me, that holds a really positive connotation. I go, oh, exciting.
Yeah, yeah.
Right. And then I ask, and how many stops are there between here and there? So you program your GPS in, and you go, well, where am I going? And how do I get there now? So you don't have to worry. He knows where I'm going. And then I go, so how many stops are there along the way? One.
Yeah.
All right. And then I go, and what's the name of that stop? It's Chiron. All right. And what am I doing there? And so this is kind of game, like, might have been something completely different, but that's what I get. All right. So and now I would ask, what am I doing there and when and things like that, getting the specific, right? But this is what I mean about, you make it a game, and you'd be surprised. Like when you put your GPS on, and you don't have to worry about, how am I going to get there?
Yeah.
It knows where to go, and it'll tell you where to. Your inner GPS will tell you how to get there, where you're going, what stop, and what to do at each stop.
Yeah, yeah.
Right. So I might have got 2 stops. First go to Cairo, second is something else. So it might be something practical. It might be something completely different. It might have been, I don't know what it would be. Like that's the openness, trust, believe, allow, you're talking about that. It's like, you just got to trust that you do know and believe it's right, and allow yourself to get on with what it's telling you. So in a practical way. So when I work with someone, I'll always ask them, so where are you going? What's the name of the stop? Now, what are you doing there? How many things are you doing there? What are they? And if it came up, go and see a chiro. Like, I have a really great chiro, it's very alternative. I might ask, when are you going? Right? I'll be very specific about, because it might be something that, or it might be like, drink more water. And I'd say, well, how much and how often? Like, you would be surprised how simple it is. how simple your body knows what to do and what order to do it in.
Yeah.
And you think, surely this can't be the rest, but you just go one step at a time. And that's why I play one game at a time. It's like, okay, so what's the next game? And then we'll follow that through and then see where we're at. So whenever I do coaching, I don't prescribe, I tailor programs for someone as we go. Like it might have a certain number of sessions and it might have different things, but I don't say what's going to happen because I need to work with where I'm following my own GPS, where to go next, like what actually they require. So, and I find that fun. Because also, it's curious. I think, wow, it allows the scope for someone to go where they need to go and be able to ask further questions or, discover and what comes next. Because sometimes you think, I'm going here and the destination's over there, straight line, and suddenly finally going out here and you go, no, well, that's obviously the way to go, right? So let's work with that and keep going. So, and, I think that it's a fun game.
Oh,
and
what I love,
get the
you
results.
just make it fun. You make it fun. And I think when we started talking today, that's the element that I think everybody needs to bring in every day is fun is the discovery is fun, right? And so if we pull this all together, everything that we're talking about, and particularly just now, what do you think is the number one issue facing clients at the moment? Is it getting in touch with themselves, finding out what is really going on, or not doing that? I mean, the issue is that they're not even thinking about it, or what do you think the issue would be?
In terms of, well, if I say what I think the biggest issue at the moment is health related stuff. That's what I think is the biggest issue. If you're talking about the issue that a client is experiencing,
it's spot on.
The stress that is going on right now, across the board in all different ways.
Right?
It's really it's having an impact and stuff showing up. People that I think that's the biggest issue is health related things. And for me, that's just the starting point. It's the starting point that gets our attention. And gets a client's attention, and it's something that becomes a priority. And because it is a priority when you're in pain or something comes up, you've got to pay attention. So that's where the starting point for me, and then it opens up into wherever that goes, because health is not just health, physical, it's mental stuff, it's relationships, it's career, it's who am I, it's children, it's money, there's so much going on inside, and unraveling that and finding out where to start and find simple ways to get that moving, maybe there might be some serious decisions that have got to be made, and helping someone to do that in a way that they know they can trust themselves is really important.
That trust, right? So, well, if we bundled it up into sort of 3 easy top tips, well, not easy, but what would, if we had just 3 stepping stones, right? So you've got health-related stuff going on. What would be a first tip for starting?
It would be listen to yourself, not anybody else.
Yes, I love that.
It would be go within. Find a way to go within, whether it's meditation, whatever's the best
whatever
way.
Works for you,
nature, going for a walk, whatever it is. Go within, listen to what's going on the inside of you, and to recognize it. Go within. Is it emotional? How are you feeling? Start to go within and listen and see what you get. And the third one would be lighten up if you can. Just try to find when stuff is tough, try to find what brings you a little more joy, a little more playfulness, because it's going to help you find your way through, and it's a starting point for listening to what's happening within. And when stuff is hard, it's hard to find, but as we said before, play play, the openness of that, the relaxedness about that. Play supports you. When you play with other people, you feel loved and can love as well. When you play, when you're learning, it makes learning easier. When you play,
Yeah.
you feel more free. When you play, you can also feel stronger in yourself.
Yeah.
Because you can feel like I am in control of my body and my choices.
Yeah.
That would be my three things: is where to start.
Yeah. Listen, go within, and lighten up. I mean, that's it.
Probably not a lot, but I mean, go play.
Yeah. Go play. It's just like, and that's why I just love you, Jen, because you just practical, relatable, but it's the fun side, doing it in a fun way. Your discovery is a fun way. And I love the childlike wonder, the childlike curiosity, because it gets rid of all the adulting stuff, right? And
it gets you out of your head. Gets out of your head and into like, I'm willing. It opens your energy.
Yeah.
Because when you're really stressed and you fatigued or you got pain, it's like this, and it helps you open up, even if it's only just for a little while.
Yeah.
And it helps your body relax. It does things on all kinds of levels. And good prescription.
Oh, absolutely, Dr. Jen. Man, I could talk to you for hours, but we'll have to sort of wind it up a little bit. But at the end of the day, you're so passionate about everything that you do. But what is the thing that gets you out of bed, that keeps you ticking every day?
Knowing I can make a difference.
Oh, yes, love that. Yeah, love that.
I look from, not just seeing my clients, but, my family.
Yeah.
My friends, like we have great discussions like we're having right now.
Yeah.
And when we bounce off each other, we help each other and make a difference for each other. And I think that's what I really enjoy.
Yeah.
And
well, you're such a light worker, and you can feel that. You can just, you
just
ooze that, baby. You ooze it. And you've got a cheeky laugh as well. So how can people reach out to you, Jen? What's the best way? Is it to contact you at your website, jennymcfadden.net?
You can go to my website, got a contact form there, got some resources, you can get my book, stuff like that.
Awesome.
And you can find me on Facebook under Jenny McFadden. Just look up Jenny McFadden.
Yep.
Actually, I think my tag is Woo Woo Wisdom. So there you go. That's what.
Woo-woo wisdom.
That's actually the. But if you just look up Jenny McFadden, you'll find me. I think they're the best ways. What are the other ways people usually get in touch with someone?
Oh, I mean, we've got your email, jennymcfadden@optusnet.com.au. And you're on Insta?
I am on Insta.
Woo Woo Wisdom or Jenny McFadden?
No, just Jenny McFadden. That's what I'm quite happy to be thought of as woo woo. Never would have thought that once, but I just think it's fun.
I think the easiest is your website, and then Facebook hunt you down under Jenny the Woo Woo Wisdom.
That's the main way.
Yeah, and check it out, because you do have a wealth of wisdom, and you're just so user-friendly, relatable, practical, and not scary.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate it. We have a good resonance. So I think a lot of the things we're saying are the same in the way that we understand the world and how we're trying to help everyone, ourselves and everybody else, find the same.
Because, every day is a growth day, right? We're learning and absorbing and growing every day, and learning from everything that happens, comes along our way, for sure. I mean, and this is the whole idea of these podcasts, is to talk about these things and make them in a more user-friendly, understandable, relatable way. And, break down some of the barriers and some of the myths around it as well. Because it is time, like we were saying, the 80s and 90s, we were ahead of the time, or the world wasn't ready, but the world is ready now, right? Particularly what's happened over the last few years, people believe anything is possible, but this is all proven by science. So we're just translating the science into a sort of like a children's book. So
yeah.
You can all get it.
Quite right. Well, I'd be happy if it's in a children's book.
Yeah.
So thank you, Sarah. Thanks for the work you're doing as well.
Thank you so much for being on Magic Mike Moments, and we can't wait to catch up again down the track and see what's unfolded. So, Jen, thanks again. We'll catch you soon. See you later.
Thanks, Sarah.